Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. I've gotten a lot of questions recently regarding some of the comments that I've made about how I like to use line that is generally lighter than what most people would probably choose. I've been doing that for years and I do it for several reasons, and I think it gets me more bites, but I get a lot of people that comment that they think I'm using too light a line or that the line size does not matter. And that's what I want to talk about today. I want to get into some detail regarding why I believe choosing the correct line size really does make a difference. Before I get into that, though, I do want to remind you guys that if you want to support the channel, please do your shopping for tackle at Tackle Warehouse using my affiliate link that I provide in the description for the video. It's a great way to show some support for the channel and show that you appreciate some of the tips that I'm giving out. So I've done a lot of videos recently where I talked about the line size that I was using with respect to certain techniques. And a lot of times when I get those, put those videos up, I get questions about why I'm choosing, say, 15-pound fluorocarbon when I'm pitching into wood and laydowns, or why I'm throwing 6-pound test fluorocarbon with my jerk baits. It's just something that I feel like I'm willing to deal with using lighter line to generate more bites. I truly believe that you'll get more bites if you use lighter line. And it's not just as simple as because it's smaller line. There's several reasons why I like to do this. The first, and obviously the best reason, or one of the best reasons in my opinion, is the fact that I do believe the smaller diameter line you use and the more invisible the line is that you use, the less likely the fish is to become aware of the line being there. I do believe that if you throw braided line, you're probably costing yourself some bites because that braid is easier for the fish to identify, whether that's visually or whether they're picking up on the vibration that the braided line makes as it cuts through the water. So that's just one thing. But generally what I want to talk about is the actual pound test. So a lot of people would say I'm crazy for throwing a jerkbait on 6-pound test. They might throw it on 10 or 12-pound test. And the reason I do that isn't simply because I can get the bait deeper, and it isn't simply because I think the line size is smaller and therefore the fish can't see it, but it really has to do with the action of the bait. Generally speaking, I feel like when you go with lighter size line across the board, you're going to get better action out of your bait. And what I mean by that is if you're throwing a jerk bait on, say, 6-pound test, when you're ripping that jerk bait, it's slashing side to side better and it's moving further side to side than it would be if you're, say, throwing it on 12-pound test. The reason for that is you have much more drag in the water from heavier line because it's thicker in diameter. It would be like, say, if you picked up a actual jump rope and tried to move it side to side, it would be really easy to do. If you picked up a metal chain and tried to move it side to side, it's not going to move as far. It's harder to move it because it's heavier and it's bigger diameter. So in my opinion, if you're throwing a jerkbait, for example, on lighter line, you're getting better slashing motion. So you're going to get it deeper, but you're also getting better slashing motion. And the slashing motion, I think, is really important because it generates those reaction strikes. Your erratic bait motion creates more reaction strikes from the fish. That is simply the biggest factor in why I choose lighter line. It's not just a jerkbait thing. No matter what bait you're using, smaller, the same motion you create with your rod is going to impart more erratic motion out of whatever bait it is. A Texas rig, every time you pop your wrist up, the Texas rig will jump further because you're on lighter line and therefore the bait moves. If you're on heavier line, say you're flipping with 25-pound test fluorocarbon and I'm throwing 15-pound, when I give a nice little wrist slap that creates a popping motion of that bait, my bait's going to dart further because the line is not holding it down. It's a really important thing to understand. Does not really matter what bait you're throwing. It could be a chatterbait. Your chatterbait's going to get more erratic motion because it has the ability to move side to side better than if you're throwing a heavier line. So that's something that I really want to point out there. Uh, the other big part about line size has to do with the fact that you can control your rate of fall better. So, for example, if I'm throwing a Ned rig on 6 pound test, I know that bait's going to fall faster on 6 pound test than it will on, say, 10 pound test. Now, you could argue that that 10 pound test is going to pull the bait down more because 10 pound test will sink better than 6, which is true, but your initial fall will be better with lighter line. Not only will it be faster, you'll also allow your bait to glide side to side more, which is a very important motion that triggers those strikes as well. So really, guys, for me, when it comes down to choosing line size, and I know I generally always choose on the lighter side of things, it has to do with the fact that not only do I think the fish can see the line potentially or sense that the line is there, it really has to do with being able to get different fall rates and better fall motions out of my bait. And most importantly, it really truly allows your bait to get the best motion out of it. You know, meaning it's really going to act and run in a manner that it was meant to be because it's not being held down by your fishing line. It's really important to remember that because I think it's something that can help you generate more bites. And not only will these, you know, the tip of using lighter line get you more bites in heavily pressured water, it really can help you just generate more strikes no matter where you're at, simply because it's creating more reaction strikes out of the fish. So I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to keep using lighter line. I'm going to challenge you guys to maybe drop down a little bit in the pound test that you're throwing. I realize that there may be times where you're going with lighter line, which means you're going to break off a few more times, you know, when it comes to getting snagged on the bottom. But I think you're going to find that you will get more bites every time you drop down a line size. So I'm going to challenge you guys. Give it a try. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment in the comment section so that I know where you're coming from. And at the same time, everyone else can learn from you guys as well. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Stay tuned, another video coming out tomorrow.